My name's Julia Elizabeth. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, chronic fatigue syndrome, stroke, myalgic encephalomyelitis, fibromyalgia, and a number of comorbids, including things like bradycardia and asthma, unstable mast cells, and a few more other things just to add in. And I have Asperger's syndrome, so I'm autistic. I have dyslexia and auditory processing disorder. So today is a sad day for me. You can see that my hair is a lot shorter than my last video where I talked about shampoos and conditioners, and I did talk to you about babying like a section of my hair here. So today I want to talk to you about hair dye and EDS hair, which I did mention is very, very, very delicate, and I'm stimming because I'm upset. Right, I need to talk to you about bleach, I need to talk to you about hair dye, and I need to talk to you about kind of crazy colours, because EDS hair is very, 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 very delicate, and there are two sides of me. There's the EDS, as I said at the beginning, I've kind of like got the EDS and the chronic illness side of me, but I've also got like the autistic side with like the dyslexia and the auditory processing disorder. I also have Erlen syndrome, and I never mentioned that, which is I always say it's almost like the dyslexic eye side. So I should really mention that I have Erlen syndrome too. And you know, with these things you almost get so many things that you forget you have them. So neither here nor there. Today I'm talking about EDS hair, which is very, very delicate, it's very fine, and it's kind of missing some of the components that add strength to normal people hair. And also the iller you get, almost the worse it gets. And I had been really proud because it had got down to about here on me, and it's the longest it had got. So the shampoos and conditioners were really working. But the first thing I want to talk to you is about bleach. And bleach on hair in about two forms. Now, in my case, two forms of bleach had hit that bit of my hair. The first had been because autistic me likes to, doesn't like to, autistic me has major wobbles sometimes. Something major will happen, and I then dye my hair massively strange colours, or I go really, really red. My dad died of COVID last year in April in 2020, and autistic me went a bit crazy, and I went to his funeral with pink hair up until like the tips, and then the tips were bright purple. Obviously that was quite hard to upkeep. It looked amazing, but it was quite hard to upkeep, so then I just went really bright red. With this little bit of hair that I'd been talking about, that was a previous problem from a couple of years before that, where something had really upset me, and I'd gone a really vibrant red, and I wanted to go back to blonde, and I'd stripped it because I knew bleaching was a problem, and I thought if I just get highlights it won't be so bad. I should know better, because I've been through this cycle a million times, and I'm trying to warn you off. Any form of bleach on EDS hair, especially fine EDS hair like mine, tends to cause a problem eventually. So you will learn this the hard way like I do, or you can heed my words and keep your hair, because I really love having long hair and I never have it because I have a war in myself where autistic me goes, let's dye in a strange colour, and gets this compulsion, and my EDS hair then takes it, and it gets to a certain length and just it goes. So my autistic me is apologising to my very upset EDS me today. So I had a patch on my hair where the red had gone onto my hair, and it had clung so deeply into the hair that I had this red patch and they couldn't get it off. So before, and they said, well, we're going to put it in a bleach based like scrub and scrub it off. Oh God. And I said about my hair not coping. He said, it's okay, we're going to use Opalex to, like, when we bleach it and stuff, and your hair will cope. And I was like, I'm not sure it will. So I let them like scrub it as much as possible, and then I let them highlight it with bleach. And as you can tell, my hair is naturally somewhere between like a golden blonde and a strawberry blonde. So when they bleach it, to highlight, my hair needs highlighting as if it's like a proper redhead, like an auburn or a copper. And so it's quite a strong bleach they use on my hair, and it had gotten obviously down to about there. And Opalex is really good to begin with, but it does wear out of your hair. It needs kind of almost topping up, and I had only just started topping it up and it just wasn't coping. So yeah, one side of my hair is obviously better because I part there, and obviously this side somehow doesn't grow as fast. I'm not sure. So that's one word of warning. Don't let them like cleanse your hair with bleach. I think they call it a cleanser. Highlighting with bleach, bit of a no-no. And I know that before because I've had blonde highlights before tons of times, and it's always ended up with this chop. So number one rule is no highlights and no bleach cleansing, because your hair will eventually not survive, and it will survive for a little while, but it just over time it just goes and just looks like wire wool, and then just snaps, breaks. And what I did today to start off with was try and do like a layer and just chop it where it had like chopped that bit off. And as I took it down, I had a whole section of hair where I just didn't have any hair left because it had just broken and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, it's coming off then, isn't it? So yeah, rule number one, no bleach. Rule number two, if you are going to dye your hair, now my hair naturally is kind of somewhere between a golden blonde and a strawberry blonde, but it's darker than this. I do have a little bit of rooting. I don't know if you can see, I've got like slightly darker roots. Pick your colour and find a gentle hair dye and only do the roots. And that way your hair is only being dyed that once, and then leave it. Just so find yourself a nice hair dye that you can trust and just do the roots. The third one is really hard if you're like me and several other autistic females I know, when you get this really big urge to suddenly go wild and wacky colours. Because I've got some really lovely pinks and purples in my cupboard. The trouble is that obviously you need light hair to get them to work in the first place. I obviously have light hair and it was light enough to make them go pink and purple. But there's a big hazardous but. If you don't have light enough hair in the first place, you'd have to bleach. And we've already discussed bleach just destroys your hair if you've got Ed's hair in the first place. And the other point is that if you haven't got Ed's hair and it's light enough in the first place, I often find that actually, although they say they're going to wash out, they don't wash out properly. And if they're a proper dye rather than put a bit in your shampoo and conditioner, they don't actually come out properly, and then you either have to bleach it out or you have to strip it out. Now the purple that I had in for my dad's funeral was a gorgeous purple, but went a funny it went a funny brown colour when it was washing out, which really wasn't very desirable. I've had blues in my hair before that just haven't come out at all. They haven't, but it started off a violet actually and then went to a really lovely blue. But at the time I was working in education, I just had to chop that bit out, and luckily I'd only dip dyed it and just had to chop that section out. So do you see what I mean? It just doesn't come out as much as you want it to, and then you have to either chop it out, you have to strip it out, or you have to bleach it out. So those crazy colours that people say are amazing and they will wash out, they do not wash out. Promise you, they don't wash out as much as they say they're going to. And you're left with like a stain in there. And as I said, they either have to cleanse them out with bleach, like they've cleansed that section out. They have to, you have to strip it out, and stripper is better, like Colour Before. I've used it many times and it doesn't really help though. It's not as great to your hair. It's better than bleach. If you're absolutely desperate, use it like once or twice, but you are eventually going to end up having to cut, I promise you. So stripper I have to do because I eventually go, I want that red hair, I want that pink hair, and then I end up stripping it back to being blonde, and it destroys the natural like vibrancy of the hair, and it destroys the structure, and it's still not, you know, it's still not as good as it should be, and therefore you end up with ending up having to chop it. So if you're desperate, use a Colour Before. Don't ever bleach strip, bleach cleanse. But yeah, use with caution. And I would say if you're anything like me and you get the urge to go for those big crazy colours, unless you have the energy to upkeep and you're going to want to do that forever and you're not going to change your mind back, yeah, don't. Because if you like hair and you like long hair, your Ed's hair is not going to cope, and you're going to end up with your autistic you, like me today. Is my autistic me is saying they're very, very sorry to their Ed's me, because I've just watched that much hair growth just end up being put in the bin as it like got chopped off. And I'd finally got it, you know, past my shoulders, because it wasn't bleached or anything, and it had done really well. So this is me saying, learn from my mistakes, don't do it yourself. And so I hope this explanation, and very sad, like please just learn, don't do it yourself, is helpful to you. Press the thumbs up if it is, click subscribe if you like these kind of hints and tips of like learning from my Ed's mistakes, and you know, juggling my autistic me versus my Ed's me, and also a little bit of that CFS me, because things like keeping up with coloured hair when you've like got pink bits and purple bits, just, you know, you can't do it. It's too much energy. Occasionally doing my roots is as much as I can do. And I go, oh yeah, it needs doing. I'll do that then. Occasionally, because, you know, my hair is now like 3 shades lighter than my natural hair colour now, 3-4 shades lighter than my natural hair colour now. That I can cope with, but not keeping up with keeping a vibrant pink and purple mix going or anything. So yeah, there's some hints and tips there too. So yeah, click the bell, well, if you want to, you know, hear immediately every time I upload a video on things like this. And yeah, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, Spoonies!